Our first comic is pretty awesome. He made his debut at Ignition Garage. Anybody see that show? Yeah, louder! This guy is hilarious, and I look up to him because he's a hell of a lot taller than me. Give it up for Scott Curtis.
I just need that for my beer. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me. I can't believe I'm at the art house in Goshen because that means that comedy is art. I've struggled with that myself. I didn't know. It's really weird. And I like to try to compare myself to real artists like painters. And I would compare myself to like a Van Gogh. And not because he's a post-impressionist, but because every time I walk off the stage, I just want to hack my ear off. I just want to just take a knife and take it right off so I can't hear the silence anymore. So guys, I started comedy at age 51, and when I started telling friends and family, I got kind of a mixed reaction. When I told younger folks, you got to know that younger folks start talking to 50-year-olds like they are a 3-year-old kid that just got potty trained. So I told them that I'm starting to do comedy, and they say, "Oh, that's great! Comedy is great! You gotta stay active, don't you? Keep those brain muscles working." And then I started telling folks my age, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing that for? Didn't you already do stuff? You're making us look bad." But one thing I get about people my age is, man, are they into that classic rock. People my age think that music stopped being produced in 1984. And when I go up to somebody my age and say, "Hey, I'm listening to this new group," they're like, "What, Bon Jovi?" And "Shot to the Heart." And I'm like, "No, there's actually new groups." And then I say, "Hey guys, let's go out and see a new local group do original music." And they're like, "No, I'm going to go see this cover band. They do Led Zeppelin and AC/DC. They do the good stuff." People my age will drive 100 miles to go see REO Speedwagon and Styx, even though the only two original members of the band are the guys selling t-shirts. So I just celebrated my 53rd birthday, and I don't look it, do I? But the thing about what people do on their 53rd birthday in the internet age, I think everybody does this. You start Googling ways to prolong your life. And for me, I said, how can I live longer? And the first thing that comes up is exercise. And I exercise. My wife and I exercise every day. We walk, we do stuff, and that's great. The other thing is eat right, and we've the last few years been eating right and all that. One of them came up, was kind of weird, meditate. And I've tried the meditation thing, and I'm ready to go for it, because if that's going to prolong my life, then I'm good with it. The last one I saw was cut down on your drinking. I got to tell you, living to 100 is way overrated. So one of the good things about being a little bit older is you can share your life with somebody you love for a number of years. I've been with my wife for 34 years. Now, I'm not going to point my wife out, but I can tell you, I can see her with my peripheral vision right now. And if I do this, I still see you. And you're gone. So she's somewhere over here. So one of the things that I try to figure out, because so many of my friends, they've gone through divorce and things like that, I try to figure out why I was able to keep the relationship going for as long as I have. And it can't be because of my looks or my charm, because those are both great. That is a great way to get somebody, but to keep somebody, you gotta have staying power. And I started to look at how I'm different from regular guys. And how I'm different is I really don't get into hunting. I don't get into fishing. I don't care about working on my car. None of that stuff really, sports, none of that stuff really matters to me. What really matters to me is like snuggling in bed and watching Project Runway with my wife. Now, you can say Chuck Norris is kick-ass, or you can say Batman is kick-ass, but Tim Gunn is way more because Tim Gunn can look at you and do this and say, that's not working. And you are jello. It just goes down from there. There's no getting around that Tim Gunn is totally kick-ass. So we watch a couple other shows. We watch one called 4 Weddings. Has anybody seen that show? Isn't it great? That's where 4 women get married and they all bitch about each other's and say how bad the food was and how bad the dress was and all that. That's a great one. Another one I like is Say Yes to the Dress. Now, the cool thing about Say Yes to the Dress is I treat that like sports. Because you know how when you're watching sports, you're watching Notre Dame or whatever, and you're yelling at the screen, even though they can't hear you. I'm saying, don't get that dress! Their boobs are going to fall out. That's some of my favorites, and I guess my guilty pleasure is Property Brothers. And it's just because those guys are so dreamy. So, let's circle back. How have I stayed married this long? Well, here's how I did it. I'm basically my wife's gay roommate. Now, there are a few young people in the audience. The one thing I like to do is give advice to young people. One thing I like to tell you to do, it's not a good idea to get into a war with your neighbor using your guest internet access. You know how you can name your guest internet access? So I haven't got along with my neighbors for about the last 20 years. So the first thing I named my guest internet access was tucked in shirt, or denim shorts, tucked in t-shirt, because that's all he ever wears. And they also used to like to tell us how to park, even though there's no rules about parking. So then I call it the parking police. Well, these guys aren't too savvy. They finally named theirs something to get back at me, and they called it Big Fat Meanie Face. So I changed mine to, can't you tell I lost weight? And they still haven't changed it back. And my feelings are hurt now, so I'm just changing mine back to guest, I guess. So, some more things, and I like to really talk to the young men in the audience. Men, one thing that people don't tell you, your mom doesn't tell you, your dad doesn't tell you, you really have to moisturize. And when I talk about moisturizing, I'm talking about up here. The reason why, folks, is because young men, there's a young man, there's one over here. The reason why is because if you don't, all of a sudden at age 50, your face starts melting. See? And just to top it off, you may walk into the Speedway on Cassopolis Street in Elkhart, and the cashier may say something like, hey, you look like an older Harrison Ford. Now, I don't know what her point of reference is. I don't know if she only saw the first Indiana Jones movie, but Harrison Ford is 74 years old and I'm 53. Harrison Ford is drinking age older than me. So that does not work. Now this one's a little bit tricky. Okay, guys, you are used to just jumping in your car and going boom. You just hit that seat as hard as you can. It's just boom. I got to tell you that this is tricky. Okay. Right now your balls are right about here. As the years go on, they're going to keep coming down a little bit. And one of these days you're going to go boom, and you're going to sit on your balls. I don't know if you know what sitting on your balls feels like. I can't explain it. It feels like sitting on your balls. It hurts a lot. Folks, that's my time for today.